John Quincy Adams, 6th President of the United States. John Quincy Adams, the 6th President of the United States, was a remarkable figure in American history. His life and political career were characterized by an unwavering commitment to the principles of liberty, justice, and public service. This documentary aims to explore the life, accomplishments, and legacy of John Quincy Adams, shedding light on the man who left an indelible mark on the nation he served. First, let's talk about his early life and family background. John Quincy Adams was born on July 11, 1767, to John and Abigail Adams in a part of Braintree, Massachusetts that is now Quincy. He was named after his mother's maternal grandfather, Colonel John Quincy, after whom Quincy, Massachusetts is also named. Colonel Quincy died 2 days after his great-grandson's birth. Young Adams was educated by private tutors, his cousin James Texter and his father's lawyer, Nathan Rice. He soon exhibited literary skills, and in 1779, he started a diary that he kept until just before he died in 1848. Until the age of 10, Adams grew up on the family farm in Braintree, largely in the care of his mother. Though frequently absent because of his participation in the American Revolution, John Adams maintained a correspondence with his son, encouraging him to read works by authors such as Thucydides and Hoku Grotius. With his father's encouragement, Adams would also translate classical authors such as Virgil, Horace, Plutarch, and Aristotle. In 1778, Adams and his father departed for Europe, where John Adams would serve as part of American diplomatic missions in France and the Netherlands. During this period, Adams studied law, French, Greek, and Latin, and attended several schools, including Leiden University. In 1781, Adams traveled to St. Petersburg, Russia, where he served as the secretary to the American diplomat Francis Dana. He returned to the Netherlands in 1783 and accompanied his father to Great Britain in 1784. Though Adams enjoyed Europe, he and his family decided he needed to return to the United States to complete his education and eventually launch a political career. Adams returned to the United States in 1785 and earned admission as a member of the junior class of Harvard College the following year. He joined Pi Beta Kappa and excelled academically, graduating second in his class in 1787. After graduating from Harvard, he studied law with Theophilus Parsons in Newburyport, Massachusetts, from 1787 to 1789. Adams initially opposed the ratification of the United States Constitution, but he ultimately came to accept the document, and in 1789, his father was elected as the first Vice President of the United States. In 1790, Adams opened his own legal practice in Boston. Despite some early struggles, he was successful as an attorney and established financial independence from his parents. We will now talk about her married life in this part. In the winter of 1795 to 1796, while in London, Adams met Louisa Catherine Johnson, the second daughter of American merchant Joshua Johnson. In April 1796, Louisa accepted Adams' marriage proposal. Despite his parents' disapproval of marrying someone who had grown up in England, Adams was determined to go through with it. Originally, Adams wanted to postpone the wedding until his return to the United States, but they ended up marrying on July 26, 1797 at Hollows by the Tower. Soon after the wedding, Joshua Johnson fled England to evade his creditors, and Adams did not receive the promised dowry. causing some embarrassment to Louisa. However, Adams had no regrets about his decision to marry her, as he noted in his own diary. Let's know about how John Quincy Adams became the first United States minister to Russia. After resigning from the Senate, Adams faced ostracism from Massachusetts Federalist leaders but resisted Democratic Republic appeals to seek office. In 1809, he argued successfully before the Supreme Court in the cause of Fletcher v. Peck, highlighting the Constitution's contract clause to prevent Georgia from invading a land sale to out-of-state companies. That same year, President James Madison appointed Adams as the first United States minister to Russia. Thanks to his support of Jefferson's foreign policy and his qualifications from his European and Russian experiences, Adams arrived in St. Petersburg in October 1809 and built a productive relationship with Russian officials, even befriending Tsar Alexander I. He continued to advocate for American neutrality during the Napoleonic War, and his wife Louisa adapted well to life in Russia. From his diplomatic post, Adams witnessed Napoleon's ill-fated invasion of Russia. In February 1811, President Madison nominated him as an Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court, and the Senate unanimously confirmed the appointment. However, Adams declined the seat in favor of pursuing a career in politics and diplomacy, leading to Joseph Story taking the position. The Monroe Doctrine. One of John Quincy Adams' most significant contributions was his role in formulating the Monroe Doctrine. As Secretary of State under President James Monroe, Adams played a private role in crafting the foreign policy doctrine, which would have a lasting impact on U.S. relations with Latin America and European powers. During James Monroe's presidency, there was concern about the Holy Alliance, Prussia, Austria, and Russia potentially controlling former Spanish colonies in Latin America. John Quincy Adams advocated for U.S. neutrality rather than forming an alliance. After the Adams-Onis Treaty in 1822, the U.S. recognized Latin American countries' independence. In 1823, the Monroe Doctrine, influenced by Adams, opposed European colonization in the Americas and marked a shift towards U.S. influence in the Western Hemisphere. The doctrine became a foundational principle in U.S. foreign policy, redirecting focus to Western expansion and Native American relations. However, it was the presidential election of 1824 that would bring John Quincy Adams to the pinnacle of his political career. In a hotly contested race, Adams faced off against several prominent candidates, including Andrew Jackson. Although Jackson had won the popular vote, no candidate secured a majority in the Electoral College. The election was ultimately decided by the House of Representatives. Presidency of John Quincy Adams. Adams was inaugurated on March 4, 1825, becoming the first son of a former United States president to himself become president, a feat only repeated once 76 years later by George W. Bush, son of George H.W. Bush. As Adams took the oath of office, he departed from the tradition by placing his hand on a book of constitutional law instead of on a Bible. In his inaugural address, he adopted a post-partition tune, promising to avoid party building and politically motivated appointments. He also proposed an elaborate program of internal improvements, roads, ports, and canals. Though some were worried about the constitutionality of such federal projects, Adams argued that the General Welfare Clause provided for broad constitutional authority. He promised that he would ask Congress to authorize many such projects. In a dramatic turn of events, the House of Representatives elected John Quincy Adams as the 6th President of the United States. His presidency was marked by a commitment to internal improvements, a strong stance against slavery, and a dedication to education. He envisioned a national university and a national observatory, both of which were precursors to institutions that would later come into being. John Quincy Adams' presidency was not without its challenges. His opponents accused him of making corrupt bargain with Henry Clay, who would become his Secretary of State. The controversy haunted his presidency, but Adams remained resolute in his dedication to the betterment of the nation. Throughout his life, John Quincy Adams remained an avid diarist. His detailed writing provides us with insights into the man behind the public figure. His dedication to his principles, his unwavering commitment to justice, and his love for his country are evident in the pages of his diary. End part. As the year passed, John Quincy Adams continued to serve in Congress until his last breath. On February 21, 1848, he suffered a stroke while speaking on the floor of the House of Representatives. He was carried to the Speaker's room, where he remained for 2 days before passing away. He had spent his life in the service of his nation, and he died as he had lived, a dedicated and principled public servant. The legacy of John Quincy Adams endures to this day. His contributions to American diplomacy, his fight against slavery, and his commitment to education and the arts have left an indelible mark on the nation. He was a man of profound intelligence, unwavering integrity, and an unshakable dedication to the principles of democracy. John Quincy Adams passed away on February 23, 1848, in the Speaker's room of the House of Representatives. He had spent his entire life in the service of his nation, and he died with the same unwavering dedication to the principles of democracy and freedom that had guided him throughout his life. Today, John Quincy Adams is remembered not just as a president, but as a statesman, diplomat, and champion of justice. His life story serves as an enduring source of inspiration, reminding us that the pursuit of knowledge, justice, and liberty is a noble endeavor that can shape the course of a nation. And so, we conclude our story of John Quincy Adams, a man whose remarkable journey and unwavering principles have left an indelible mark on the history of United States. And so, the story of John Quincy Adams, the 6th President of the United States, is not merely a tale of presidency, but a journey of a life dedicated to the betterment of the nation. His words, his actions, and his principles continue to inspire generations, reminding us that the pursuit of justice, liberty, and knowledge is a noble endeavor worthy of a great storyteller's narration.